So hello students, welcome to this 7th session. So if you remember in the previous session what we did was I explained what an impulse function is in the continuous time domain, and we saw that it's a bit more complicated than the unit sample sequence, the counterpart in the discrete domain. Okay, so I defined delta t, right, or delta t is defined in such a way that it doesn't exist anywhere when the term inside this bracket is not 0. Okay, so it is equal to 0 when the term inside the bracket is not 0, and it exists, which means it exists only at a point t equal to 0, right? And the condition is the area under the impulse will always be equal to 1, and sometimes this is called as the strength of an impulse. And the notation is for a continuous time impulse, okay, since it exists at t equal to 0, so this is delta t, right? So it's the strength is indicated like this, okay, with an arrow on top. So the strength is written here, okay. So this is a unit impulse. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain how to express a general signal, a general function, okay, in terms of an impulse, and we see the importance in the next session. So expressing a general function in terms of scaled, the same thing we are doing it in the continuous time domain, but here it's a bit more difficult. Okay, I thought of skipping this part, but it's good to know the theory involved in expressing the given general function in terms of an impulse, okay, an impulse function. So before that, so let's dive deeper and understand what this Dirac delta function is, or an impulse function is. Okay, so one kind of interpretation is, so see, both the conditions should be satisfied. So what I'll do is I'll take a pulse, okay, of width delta. Okay, so the on the positive, this is my t equal to 0, this point, okay, and this point is minus delta by 2, and the other one here is plus delta by 2. Okay, and let's say I take the height of this pulse to be equal to 1 by delta. Now you can see that this pulse has a value of 1 by delta for this time interval, okay, as well as during this time interval. Okay, it exists for t not equal to 0 also, right? So this cannot be an impulse. Now when can this pulse be an impulse? For this pulse to be an impulse, it has to satisfy these two functions, right? Now let's see what is the area under this pulse, right? So if you look at the area under this pulse, okay, which is given by the integration here, right? Integration gives you nothing but the area under the curve that you are looking. Okay, so basically for an impulse the condition is area under the impulse the pulse should be equal to 1. Okay, now we'll see the area. Since it is a rectangle, right, so length into breadth will give you the area, right? The width is equal to delta by 2 minus of minus delta by 2, which is delta, and height is 1 by delta. So if you take the product, the area is equal to 1, but it doesn't satisfy the above condition. Okay, so this condition is not satisfied because it is existing for t not equal to 0 also, right? So this function has a value, when t is not equal to 0 also, right? Now what I'll do is I'll make the width delta tend to 0. Now what do you think will happen in practice, right? So if you make delta, or theoretically, what will happen theoretically, right? So if you make the width go to 0, right, so the width of the pulse will become thinner and thinner, right? But what happens to the height? The pulse becomes taller and taller. Okay, now even if you now try to find out the area under the curve, the area will still be equal to 1, and in the limit, Okay, when the width becomes very small, okay, it becomes a pulse of zero width and the height goes to infinity. Okay, but still, right, it will be satisfying this condition such that the area under it will always be equal to 1. Okay, because the width is delta, even if it is going to 0, right, so the height is 1 by delta. It's not equal to 0, it is just tending to 0, right. So if you take the product, you will get the area to be equal to 1, and under the limit this pulse will become an impulse. Okay, a unit impulse function, and unit impulse function is denoted as I told you in the as denoted here. Okay, so this area under this impulse is called as a strength of an impulse. Okay, since the strength is equal to 1, we call it as a unit impulse function. Now, how to express a general sequence in terms of this time shifted and scaled impulses. Okay, now what I'll do is, I'll take this general curve. Okay, so let's say this is t equal to 3, right. I'll divide it up. Okay, into pulses of width delta. Okay, so I'll divide it up into pulses of width delta. Now this point is x of 3. Okay, right. Now what I'll do is, so my let's this signal, okay, so I'll use a different color. Okay, so this is my actual curve, and what I'm trying to do is I am trying to express this in terms of the time shifted impulses. Okay, so what I'll do is I'm basically breaking, so let's call this as some x of t. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm breaking it up into a pulses. Now x of t, right, if you represent diagrammatically, it's very difficult since it got infinite number of terms, right. So it's not as easy as in the case of a discrete time sequence. Okay, so I'll still try to explain it. So the width here of each of the pulse be delta. Okay, now this x of t can be approximately written as, so there will be infinite terms on the left here, right, infinite pulses. I'm going to start with x of, sorry, this will be minus 3 since it is left of the axis. Okay, so this is my t equal to 0, so sorry, so there will be infinite terms, right. Now into the height of the pulse be 1 by delta and the width be equal to delta. Okay, plus x of minus 3 plus delta, where minus 3 plus delta is this point. Okay, right, so this will be the height and I'm going to multiply it by a pulse. Okay, this treatment is given in the textbook, so you can refer. So if not, so I'll try to fit it in this time frame. Okay, so I'll go on adding such terms and there will be infinite number of terms. Okay, now what I'll try to do is I'll try to make delta tend to 0, right. In that case what happens is this signal where it was approximately equal, so in the limit when the width of the pulse goes to 0, right, so will become exactly equal to x of t, right, and you'll have such infinite number of shifted and scaled impulses. And what is the scaling value of the impulse? Now the area of this term is equal to 1, right. The area here, when you multiply by x of minus 3, the strength of the whole impulse will become equal to x of minus 3. Okay, and similarly it will be x of minus 3 plus delta, x of minus 3 plus 2 delta, so on and so forth. Okay, x of minus 3 plus 3 delta, so on and so forth. Whatever the value of x of minus 3 will be, or minus 3 plus delta will be, so on and so forth. Okay, so in the limit this will be equal to this function, and since it's the limit. What happens, what do you get is, you'll get an integration, okay, from minus infinity to plus infinity. That is, these pulses exist from minus infinity to plus infinity in a general case, okay, and this is the scaling value x of tau, right? So this is, tau is a dummy variable, right? Ultimately we want it to be a function of time. So if you want x of 3, right, so let's find out the value of, let's say, x of 2, okay. Now if you want to find out the value of x of 2, right, you substitute t equal to 2. This will be equal to minus infinity to infinity x of tau. Remember, the variable of integration is tau now, right? It's a dummy variable or a running variable, okay. Delta 2 minus tau d tau, okay. Now this term here, right, exists only at tau equal to 2, because the impulse function will exist only at when the term inside the bracket goes to 0. For all the other values it is equal to 0, right? It only exists when tau minus 2 is equal to 0, right? So if you substitute it, so what you get is, for all the other values it is 0, okay. So I'll get, so x of 2 is a constant, right? Now this will be, okay, so what is delta t minus 2? It is delta 0, right? Anyway, impulse exists only at 0, and area under it is equal to 1, which you get to be equal to 2, right? So the same thing you can substitute for 1.5, 1.99999, 1.901 or 2.959, whatever the random value you take, right? So the impulse exists only at that point, okay. So this is a constant term, okay. So x of 2 is a constant value, right? It can be equal to 5, it can be equal to 3, it's not a variable, right? When t varies, this value varies. Since you are interested in a value at a specific time instant, right, at t equal to 2 units, right, so the value will become constant. So what you get is, whatever the value of x of 2 you have, you will get that, okay. Now what I did here was, I expressed the general function. It's a bit difficult to understand, so you have to read it in the textbook, right? So it's rigorous mathematics is involved, and he has dedicated 2 to 3 pages for this explanation. So please go and read it. If you don't understand, then please mail to me. I'll try to make it more clear, okay. So since there is a time constraint, I am trying to explain it as much better, in a better way as possible, right, from my side. I expressed the general function in terms of shifted and scaled impulse functions, right? As tau goes on varying, right, the position of the impulse will go on changing. Basically they are getting shifted from one point to another point as tau varies from minus infinity to plus infinity, right? The first impulse will start from minus infinity and it will get multiplied by the value of x of minus infinity, and next value will be shifted by d tau, so on and so forth. It's basically shifting and adding of infinite number of terms, okay, infinite number of very small impulses or functions, right, the pulses, right? So please look at this. So once you understand this, a lot more things will be clear, because there is a term called impulse response, which I am going to explain in the next session, okay. So which is very, very important in almost all the subjects. It may be the control systems, or when you go for communications, right, or your DSP, right. So all will, throughout these courses we'll be looking at something called as impulse response, right, and to understand that you need a better understanding of what an unit impulse function is, okay, fine. So we'll stop here and I'll continue in the next session.